It's like one of those war. It's like one of those war ad movie strips. Like, join the war overseas, and in other news, the Raiders are good. Welcome to episode 7 of the Go for Two podcast, a podcast for frustrated football fans by two frustrated football fans. I'm Brad Klein, and my co-host is Jenna Elique. Jenna, this is episode 7. We made it. Episode 7. Did you think we'd get this far?
I hoped we'd get this far. I mean, Episode 7, we're still in quarantine, at least. I mean, I'm still in my house all the time, so
there's no excuse to not do episode 7.
There's nothing special about episode 7. I mean, maybe we could start, celebrating episode 10, but episode 7, it's a little random.
Well, that's fair. I don't know, it's like a week of episodes. I don't know.
I guess so. Listeners, now you can listen to episodes 1 through 7. One each day of the week. That is what we expect. I get it. I get the how it fits nicely into our daily lives as Americans.
7's a good number. 7's a good number. And you know what? 3 more, and we'll have as many parts as The Last Dance.
We will have as many parts as The Last Dance. Will we be as iconic? I think so.
No question. No question. There's a lot to talk about on this edition. A lot of iconic topics to talk about. We have some rule changes, a lot of quarterback talk to get to. We'll have what was trending. And, of course, we're going to open the floodgates on fan frustration. But, Jenna, we begin with the NFL and, of course, the coronavirus talk. The NFL is planning on having, quote, full stadiums this season. Fans in the stands. And not just some fans. They're talking about sellout crowds that we worship on Sundays. Do you think this is possible?
Well, I'll kind of piggyback kind of what you said last week when we were talking about just like things getting restarted and how it's optimistic. I agree with that statement. They said Troy Vincent, the executive VP of football operations, says unless they are forced, they will have full stadiums. And you look more into that, and it's just if health officials say something that maybe shouldn't do this, which is very well possible. The thing is, this isn't something we'll see until August or September. So it's cool to say it now, and we are seeing just in normal life, we are seeing things opening up, kind of easing out of everything being closed. So I can see why they're like, I can see in August or September everything being back to normal, but that is optimistic. It should be interesting. We're seeing this in a lot of other sports, especially collegiate sports, as teams are able to, like collegiate football, they're allowed to come back to start training, which should be interesting. And the fan question will always be the question, and I don't know if health officials are going to be on board for that. But again, we have several months until we get to that point. But I'm hopeful. It makes me excited. I hope to, be a part of that experience, but I don't know if that's realistic, at least in 2020.
Who knows? Maybe if you do like a special dance or say a special prayer, you'll actually get to Allegiant Stadium this year. But it's funny you mentioned that Troy Vincent is just saying, "Hey, we're gonna do this until someone says that we can't." He's almost like a rebellious teen or like an 8-year-old at a play date who knows it's 5:30 and he has to leave at 5:30, but mom hasn't chased him and mom isn't saying, "Hey, get in the car, get in the Subaru, we have to go." And now he's kicking and screaming and saying, "Hey, I want to stay at this play date. I want to do what I want to do until someone says I can't." The NFL, on the surface, it looks like they're being naive. It looks like they're ignoring the coronavirus, but I can't blame them. They want to be prepared for any and every scenario. That includes fans in the stands. They also have a separate plan for half-full stadiums. They have a plan for empty stadiums. And for that, I commend the NFL to be on top of this in a very unsure, unfamiliar situation.
Well, and we also are going to get to see things starting to open up, as I said, not just in life, but for the NFL, they have announced that mini camps, including players, can start being scheduled for June 15th and as late as June 27th. So they're starting to get into their normal routine, into the summer involuntary workouts and such. So it's an exciting time to be a football fan because it gives us some hope of some normalcy, but we'll see as we get closer.
Well, it's not all abnormal right now because normal, one thing that you can count on is cowboy quarterback drama. And that's what we have right now. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, they've been in negotiations with a new contract for what, 7 years, 8 years now? Something ridiculous like that. It's been a while. And over the past week, there were rumors left and right. It was reported by multiple sources that the Cowboys offered Dak Prescott $175 million over 5 years. You do the math, carry the one, that's $35 million annually. Now, those reports have since been apparently called false. There are rumors. We don't really know what's true. All we know is there are negotiations. It's between the Cowboys and Dak, and now there is this huge debate on whether Dak deserves a big-time payday, whether that is 175 million, 200 million, who knows. Right now, Jenna, the biggest bargaining chip is years. The Cowboys want a shorter deal. Dak wants the security on a longer deal. But I'm just going to ask you straight up the million, or rather $200 million question. Does Dak deserve a payday like this?
I think he does. He is their franchise quarterback and the most important player on the field for the Cowboys. I mean, you pay your franchise quarterback. We've talked about franchise players
unless you're
on
the
this
Jets.
podcast.
Be careful.
Yeah, exactly. We've talked about franchise players and how you should treat them as we've talked about Jamal Adams, and for me, Khalil Mack. You pay your guys, but you pay your quarterbacks, and that's what we've seen in the history. It's a quarterback league. I say he deserves it. He's had some good seasons. He hasn't had awful lows. I mean, he's been pretty I'd say consistent. So I think he deserves it. I mean, they have until July 15th to figure it all out until he has to play under the franchise tag for 2020. So they better get on it. But I mean, it's not like the money question, as it was speculated earlier this week. The money question is something that worries me more than the contract. How many years? I feel like that can be easily. Oh goodness, it can be negotiated easier than something like money, where people are they know exactly what they need to do with their money. So that's my opinion. I did think he deserves to get paid for sure.
Well, I'm interested in two things. One, how adamant Dak will be on the years, because most football players, quarterbacks are somewhat of an exception, but most football players do not play out their contracts in their entirety. They get cut, they get traded, they retire. That's just how the sport works. 5 years is a long time, but for a quarterback as young as Dak, I can see him playing it out. So I'm interested to see how adamant he is about that, how adamant the Cowboys are about that. But I'm also interested to see if he gets his money, because just straight up, because I don't think he deserves it, to be crystal clear. You mentioned he's consistent, and I'll give him that, but you don't get $35 million a year for being consistent, okay? You have to be elite. Whether Dak is elite or not, that goes back to the Joe Flacco days. I feel like we can have a separate debate about if Flacco's elite. We're still arguing that. But I don't think he deserves it. Yet, I think he should get it.
Okay, I'm with you. Yep.
Because that's just how sports work. That's how sports contracts work. There are 3 quarterbacks ahead of Dak, 3 young quarterbacks that are going to get paid and are going to get paid more than him. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. Those 3 guys are going to reset the quarterback market. Mahomes and Jackson more so than Watson, but he's in that conversation too. So, I mean, remember Kirk Cousins was the highest paid NFL player in NFL history? He was never the best player ever, but he was the latest quarterback to sign. If Dak signs tomorrow, he'll be a top 5 paid player in NFL history. And then the next day, when Patrick Mahomes signs, it'll be a footnote in history of the sport. That's just how it works. But because he's a quarterback and because he's pretty good, he's going to get paid, and he should get paid, because quarterbacks don't grow on trees. Trust me, I know, as a Jets fan, they don't. And you have to hold on to your quarterbacks, the leader of your franchise, as you alluded to. But with that, the Jets are making a quarterback move too. Jets bringing in Joe Flacco, coming off big neck surgery with the Broncos, but he is backing up Sam Darnold now. Jenna, what do you think of this move?
I think it's interesting that this is kind of happening again. It happened to us last week in terms of news, where it was like the Phyllis George one, where I was asking you when you should have been asking me, and I feel like you're asking me when
Yeah.
I should be asking you. But I do have my opinion as someone who sees the Broncos play at least 2 times a week. I mean, Joe Flacco's just coming in to back up Sam Darnold. There's gonna be no competition. The man can't move. I've seen him, and he just can't move. I'm like, it's interesting that we just talked about, is Joe Flacco elite? And I feel like we're so far away from that conversation where he was, he led his team to the Super Bowl MVP. Like, that was so long ago, and he's so far removed from that. I mean, he's 35 years old, and I don't see him, getting any nimbler. So I think it's a fine move. You have someone, let's say Darnold gets hurt. I knew your worst nightmare. And they need someone to fill in. You have someone with some experience who knows how to lead a team. And I think we've seen the last of Joe Flacco as a starter in terms of starting the season and being the guy for a team.
Well, I'm not worried about Sam Darnold getting hurt. I'm worried about him getting mono again. Because last year he got mono week 2, and we had Luke Falk starting 3 games for us last year. And I know what you're thinking. It's only 3 games. The Jets weren't really trying to win. But those are 3 automatic losses. The Jets didn't have a backup quarterback. So I can talk to you about how Joe Flacco has 13 years on Darnold. That's 13 years of experience. He's going to be a great mentor for Darnold. But I feel like I just said that a couple of weeks ago with Frank Gore. It's the same conversation. And God bless Joe Douglas. God bless Joe Douglas for realizing that a 22-year-old quarterback doesn't just need weapons around him. He needs knowledge around him. Joe Flacco is going to be great for the locker room. He's going to be great for Sam Darnold. I love Flacco as a mentor. But he's also a win-now move because, God forbid, something happens to Darnold, whether it is mono or a twisted ankle, Joe Flacco can step in and he can lead that offense. Now, do I think he's elite? Do I think he ever was elite? That's a separate topic. I don't think he's elite now. Of course not. I don't think he's a starter now. But he can start, a spot start, a backup. That's fine. He's a good backup, I think. And there's no risk for the Jets. $1 million over 1 year? Yeah. I would have paid his contract. You kidding me? Come on. That's nothing. That's pocket change. Great move for the Jets.
I agree. There's nothing that could really go wrong here for the Jets. Like you said, having a veteran backup is so important. And I'll talk about backup quarterbacks later on in the show during my fan frustration, how nice it must be to have one that you can at least semi-rely on. So I think it's a good pickup. Yeah, I like it, but he can't move. That's my final
that's
thing.
Fair.
And you might not need him to.
I don't. He doesn't have to play it down for this to be a good signing for the Jets. It almost reminds me of Josh McCown. You don't want Josh McCown leading your offense, but he could in a pinch. More importantly, he has the ear of Carson Wentz, and that's going to make your team better for years to come. I don't know. Maybe Derek Carr can benefit from a backup like that. Bring in Peyton Manning as your backup quarterback in Las Vegas to mentor Derek Carr. Thoughts? He's basically a quarterback's coach. I'm fine with it.
I'm also fine with it.
Okay, so we're talking about the old now. Here's the new. A proposed onside kick rule change. The NFL is thinking about replacing the onside kick with a forced 4th down and 15. Now, personally, I think a forced 4th down and only 15, that's too easy. But Jenna, do you think this is a good, exciting rule change?
I think it's exciting. I also think 4th and 15 is something that we're definitely going to see a conversion rate that is higher than the onside kick. The onside kick is converted at 12%. 8 out of the last 63 onside kicks were converted for anything positive, which, again, like I said, is meager. So I think it will definitely make things interesting. 4th and 15 is a situation that I think we see. It's pretty common in games. It's not something that's like outlandish. That's like, okay, now it's a challenge. Like onside kicks, it's like, all right, if this works, it's going to be crazy. But if it doesn't, like, it doesn't work. So I definitely think we'll see more of a conversion rate with the 4th and 15th, but I think they're going to end up changing it. If they do change the rule to make it the 4th and 15th, I think they will see how it works the first season and then scale it back to what it probably should be. Maybe a larger length in terms of how far away till the first down. But I think it's interesting. This is one of the things that the AAF obviously left an impression on the NFL. So it's cool to implement all those things that we see on these, spin-off leagues that we're like, okay, that's what makes them unique. That's what makes them interesting. And sometimes we're like, so, but how does that affect the NFL? Why watch? Well, this is why you watch, to see if anything from those leagues kind of integrate into the NFL, trying new things. So I'm excited. If it does get implemented, I'm excited to see what it looks like, and I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and just to touch up on rule changes based on alternate leagues like the AAF and the XFL, those leagues, or the XFL, experimented with no kickoff. Mm-hmm. I think that this is the first step to eliminating the kickoff, because the NFL is trying to see an alternative to kicking the ball. I disagree with you on the beta test that the NFL will try it for a year, see if it's too short, and if it is, they'll move it back. No, the NFL is not going to do that. They're not going to be embarrassed the way that they were last season. I'm hearing murmurs that NFL owners and front office officials, they're saying that it was a huge mistake to implement the pass interference challenge because they weren't ready for it. They said they called it an overreaction to the no call against the Saints.
Yeah.
The NFL is a very methodical league. They're very deliberate, and they're not going to overreact the way that they did with the passing interference call. If this move is made, then this move is calculated. I do think it's too short, and I think they're going to realize it's too short before they even implement it, if and when they implement it. Mm-hmm. Thing is, here's the problem. I love onside kicks. They're awesome. And an onside kick, you mentioned 12%. That's your punishment for having not converted earlier in the game, for being desperate. But 4th down and 15 doesn't seem that daunting of a task.
I completely agree. But something that may seem a little daunting is watching the new Tom Brady documentary coming out in 2021. The Jordan doc found success, and now we're going to see Tom Brady. Brad, how are you feeling about this? Obviously, as a Jets fan, you're probably going to – a lot of poor Jets play is probably going to be shown in this footage. How are you feeling about it? Are you ready? Are you as excited as you were for the Michael Jordan documentary? How are you feeling?
I'll tell you, these sports documentaries are spreading like wildfire. You got The Last Dance. Did you see Lance? I'm assuming you didn't. I'm assuming you didn't watch the Lance Armstrong documentary.
I did not. I don't want to watch. Okay. I don't care about someone's biking story.
Okay, you should. It's interesting.
I know.
I'm not going to peer pressure you like I did with The Last Dance, but I'm
I'll
just
probably
encouraging
watch
you to
it.
watch.
Maybe.
You should. Not going to peer pressure you. Not going to condemn you, even though you should have watched it, and you're kind of not even a sports fan.
Oh, here we go.
Aside from that, there we go. I'm interested in it. I'm very interested in it, and I don't want this to be confused. The director already went out and said, this is not a Last Dance. Acknowledge fully that Tom Brady is still playing at what we assume is a high level in Tampa Bay. It's not a Last Dance. It's merely talking about his career and how it is currently affecting his career, his past and how it's affecting the present. Because Tom Brady, if you think about it, has had the most decorated career in NFL history, if you ask me, but also one of the most controversial. For considering someone that has never had off-field issues, is not a scandalous player per se, it's a very controversial career. Spygate, Deflategate. He was involved in Watergate too, right? Am I just imagining
all
that?
The gates
I don't know.
Are tied to Tom Brady.
So they're going to talk about water. Oh my God, I just messed it up. They're going to talk about the Tuck Rule. They're going to talk about Deflategate and Spygate and how that has shaped and molded soon-to-be 43-year-old Tom Brady. It's not a Last Dance. I'm sure 20 years from now we will have a Last Dance. But it's going to be interesting. And Tom Brady has gone out and said, this is going to give Patriots fans the answers that they've been looking for. Oh. What happened in my last 3 years in New England? Well, this is going to let you know. And the world will be watching.
See, I wasn't, on board for this when I first heard. I was like, ugh. I feel like everyone but Patriots fans are kind of like, ugh. Like, it's in the middle. I don't know.
You know
I don't.
what? Can I cut you off for a second
Go
and just
ahead.
address that? Everyone but Patriots fans. Here's why, as a Jets fan, I'm looking forward to it. Two reasons. One, I respect the hell out of Tom Brady. Hate him, hate him, hate him. And now, because he's not even a Patriot anymore, I can appreciate him. I'm going to be honest with you. I rewatched the Falcons Super Bowl, the Patriots-Falcons Super Bowl. I don't think I could do that with other rivals. I don't think I could do that with the Phillies or the Braves in the World Series or even the Knicks in the NBA Finals, to be honest. But I just respect the hell out of Tom Brady. Now, that being said, I'm looking forward to this because I know at some point in the 9-part documentary, they're going to talk about Spygate and how the Patriots were spying on the Jets sideline. As a Jets fan, I'm flattered. Thank you. Thank you for thinking that we are good enough and important enough to actually break the rules and risk your career for. I appreciate that. That's my aside.
And I'll kind of give you maybe why I'm a little why I was originally, and I'll get back to what I was saying, but we'll take this little side ramp over here. I'm a Raiders fan. The Tuck rule. I'm gonna be honest. It's not something that I need to hide. I am a 2000 baby, so I was probably watching the Tuck rule, but it was from the eyes of a young child. So I didn't get this thing or the brunt of it when it happened. But man, oh man, I have seen, especially in 2016 when we were, doing things right, everyone was going back to the Tuck rule. And it was like, what if the Tuck rule never happened? Or they were saying the Raiders might be the team to, be able to beat the Patriots, But the Tuck rule happened. Remember, they can't play in the cold. So I really don't want to see it. I don't want to hear the explanation. I don't care. It happened. We did not move on. We lost the game. But thinking about it in the way where we will get to see like the last 3 years of Tom Brady in New England, that is what is gonna get me in. And I'm a football fan. It's not like, when I said when I was watching The Last Dance, I was kind of like, I'm not an NBA. I don't watch the NBA really. But I'm a football fan. This is my sport. This is what I love. So I'll watch it. And I'm excited, especially like you gave me that new insight where I won't be dragging my feet to watch it. I might be, at the edge of my seat watching this documentary. So I'm excited coming in 2021. So we got to wait a little bit.
I'm really excited to see, and the Lance Armstrong documentary touches up on this too. The Michael Jordan documentary was so much about this leadership. Mm-hmm. How is Tom Brady as a leader? I learned things about Michael Jordan as a leader and as a person that I would never have known. And to be fair, people that lived and watched during that time in the mid-90s, they wouldn't have known either. If you watched the Jazz Bulls, or rather NBA Finals, you wouldn't know that Jordan was hated by some teammates. You wouldn't know that. I'm very interested to see Tom Brady's leadership style and the repercussions of that. Because, we've seen this on Twitter. We've seen 20-second videos of Brady erupting on his teammates and looking like, well, not Tom Brady. When he yells, I don't recognize the man. I don't recognize him. I think it's hilarious when he gets upset. I like it when he gets mad. But anyway, I'm very interested to see the behind the scenes of Tom Brady and his leadership.
I think it's going to be their styles are going to be similar in ways, just because when you are at the top of your sport, you have to be, like we learned from The Last Dance, is you have to be an ultra competitor. And I think we're going to see that very similar personality in terms of leadership style when we watch Tom Brady. I might be wrong, but it takes a certain type of person to reach the top of your game.
And right now we're just speculating on the difference between Jordan and Brady and their leadership styles. But from where I'm standing, I think Tom Brady will be actually a little bit more subtle because he had to earn his stripes. He was taken in the 6th round. Jordan was taken 3rd overall. Mm-hmm. Jordan was the guy day one, and Brady wasn't even known by Patriots fans day one. He was backing up Drew Bledsoe. No one knew about the guy that ran a slow 40 from Michigan, and he had to earn his stripes. And for that, I think Tom Brady, maybe even when he's 40, will appear to be a little bit more humble.
I think it's going to change how we view Tom Brady in either way, however you view him. That's going to be my prediction for how we watch it. But I guess that's the whole point of a documentary, to look at something at a different angle. So I'm excited. We're going to continue talking about Tom Brady a little bit in our What's Trending for this week. Brad, you go ahead, and I'll talk about mine because ours kind of come together, which is pretty cool. And we get to talk about some sporting event that happened over the weekend.
It's the match. It's live sports. That's what we've been looking for. Although when you were begging and praying for live sports, I don't think you had golf in mind. But this was just flat out entertaining. Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning against Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson. Sign me up. I mean, I watched it. I loved it. I consumed it like no tomorrow. First of all, a great cause, raising $20 million for COVID-19 research. You can't get better than that. But, the players, the golfers, they were mic'd up, and we heard some trash talk. We heard some side bets, much like the match part one, but this one had two Super Bowl champions that were taking personal jabs at each other. I loved every second of it. I loved the Brady wedge shot in for a birdie when he ripped his pants. That was hilarious. Almost like something that would happen to a Jet, but that's cool. How does something – I'm being honest here.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, on the surface, and maybe this documentary will dethrone this assumption. He's like a perfect human being. The guy is Ken to Ken and Barbie, okay? He looks immaculate. He is immaculate on the field. So how does someone like that rip his pants? I thought that only happened to people like me, but apparently not.
Well, we're talking about the one shot that kind of turned it around for Tom Brady. The first, he struggled the whole front nine. It was rough.
He did.
The man was just shanking balls all over the place. So it kind of was like, okay, like I don't golf, but I was like, maybe my golfing isn't as bad. I would have to give it a try now.
No. Brady, Jenna, no. Brady's good. Brady had a bad day.
Golf. He's not good at golf.
He's not as bad as you think. That's a tough course. I don't know.
It brought him back down to earth. It was what I meant.
I know the internet wanted that. I know the internet wanted to see Brady fail, even though it was in a charity golf event and it didn't even matter. But he totally turned it on. He looked like Tom Brady on the golf course, which is a problem, right? Guy turned it around. Guy got competitive, and the back nine was a different Brady. Mm-hmm. I thought it was entertaining, where it went from charity event to actual competition, and it came down to the final hole, only one shot difference between the two teams.
I'm not a golf person, but I sat down and watched for an extended period of time some golf, and it was entertaining. Hats off to everyone who put that together, because it was an entertaining golf match, and I never thought I'd say that in my life.
Are you saying we have to change this podcast to a golf podcast? I mean,
breaking news.
It sounds like you're changing.
Yep, I'm changing. Breaking news. This is now a golf podcast, strictly golf. We're going to change all our logos and all of our branding and go to golf.
I already have the new name.
What is it?
It's Part 2.
Oh, okay, guys. So this might be serious.
Yeah.
But no, we're not changing to golf. It did make me think maybe, I'll watch some more golf broadcasts when golf comes back. But that's about it. I'm not going to go any further than that. I found it interesting, which is more than I can say. But it took forever to get started, though. Oh, my goodness.
It did.
I was sitting there, and I was like, I'm never watching golf again. This is so boring. I'm like, we're sitting here talking about, let's interview all of them, which is really great and fun, but give me like 15 minutes. I'm here to watch someone hit a ball. I was like, hit a ball.
That's the thing, Jenny. You're not there to watch someone hit a ball. You're here to watch people interact and schmooze before they hit a ball. Like, this is what Phil Mickelson said before the match.
Today's formula for victory is going to be C squared equals B plus HS equals I and V. What does that mean? Well, C squared is coffee, not just any coffee with sugar and crap. No, It's coffee for wellness with good stuff that gets your body to function right, your brain to function right. You couple that with calves, and you have exponential performance. That equals B plus HS, which is bombs, and hellacious C's, which equals I and V, intimidation and victory. And that is how Tom Brady and I are going to come home with yet again another belt from the match. Let's go.
So there you have it. You have the personality, you have a little bit of trash talk, and some even insight into what you're going to see in the match. I was getting a little antsy, but considering it seemed to be delayed like an hour, I actually didn't mind it. They kept me entertained. The Twitter sphere has you covered. Okay, Brooks Koepka was getting involved. Justin Verlander was in it. Steph Curry was getting involved. There was a lot to see on Twitter, and I know you know that.
That's what I was getting to. I wasn't the only one who was frustrated with that, a ball wasn't teed off within, the hour of the start time. Eli Manning, he is my what's trending for this week, and he has joined Twitter. Welcome, Eli Manning. And my favorite tweet from the afternoon, he obviously did this, to keep us, up to date on his thoughts during this golf match. But my favorite tweet came very early in the day, and it said, and I quote, "If that rain delay had gone any longer, I was getting ready to join TikTok to kill the time." And you know what, Eli? You got a retweet from me because I was feeling that in my chest. I was like, goodness, I am so bored. Right now, I do not have a TikTok account, but it was getting to that point. I've been wrestling with it this whole quarantine, and this long period of time of me waiting for someone to hit a golf ball almost pushed me over the edge to download
Don't do it. Don't do it, Jenna.
I have no plans. I have no intentions. But
I'm keeping you off the ledge here. Don't do it.
I will not do it. I have enough things to keep me occupied. But not in that case. I had already scrolled through Twitter and saw what everyone was saying. I went on Instagram. Everything. There was nothing else to refresh. I was looking for another social platform. I was gonna go open a book. I've been doing some more reading, and I almost opened a book. But that's how I felt.
What about MySpace? Did you exhaust that option? MySpace.
I did exhaust that option. I exhaust every option.
Okay.
Every option. I somehow got Vine back and went through there.
Vine.
I did it all.
That's a throwback and a half. I'll tell you. But you know what?
Did it all.
But Eli Manning actually proves my point. I loved the delay because did you hear what Tom Brady said about Eli Manning joining Twitter so late?
I did, but refresh my memory because I do not know off the top of my head.
He said, "Yeah, Eli always only shows up in the fourth quarter." Love that.
I do remember.
Love that. So the Turner broadcast, they were replaying that. I think that came in the practice round, that soundbite. They replayed it, and I ate it up. So did the internet. So I had no problem. I loved it.
And I loved watching Eli on Twitter. It was very entertaining. Very entertaining tweets. Well, now we're going to get into our flagship program.
Fan frustration.
Brad, we're still getting frustrated. We're still in the summer months, but frustration has not left our system. Tell us what this week's fan frustration is for you when it comes to the Jets.
You sure you're ready for this?
I'm ready. Let's give it.
Okay.
You have a lot here, so I'm excited.
This is not necessarily a Jets fan frustration.
Okay.
This is a New York fan frustration.
All right,
I am a Mets, Nets, and Jets fan, okay? Don't feel sorry for me. All my choices. I could have been a Yankees fan, could have been a Knicks fan. That probably wouldn't have been much better.
No, but
certainly could have been a Giants fan. But instead I chose all the B-list teams in New York. And this is what I get. Why don't my New York teams spend money like they're in New York? The Nets didn't up until last offseason with Kyrie and KD. The Mets approach the winter meetings with food stamps. I swear. It's unbelievable how they just don't spend money. You're a New York team, spend money. And the same can be said for the Jets. Jamal Adams is your best player. He's the face of your franchise outside of Sam Darnold. He wants his money now, and you don't want to pay him. I get it. He's a safety. Safeties don't depreciate as quickly as other positions like running back, so you want to delay paying them after their rookie contract. You have 2 more years of control, but don't play around. Don't play around. You're not going to get the trade package that you want. They want a first and 2 second-round picks. They're not getting that for a safety. Let's get real, okay? Jamal Adams, the leader of your defense, wants his money. Pay him. Act like you're a New York team. That's all I'm asking for. Larry Warford, we talked about him a couple of shows ago. Guard from New Orleans, just got cut. He's 28 years young, 3 Pro Bowl appearances in the past 3 years. You mean to tell me that he wouldn't be a massive upgrade to Brian Winters, the weak link of that offensive line? This is a unit that Joe Douglas has invested time and money even into, and you mean to tell me that Brian Winters is a better alternative than Larry Warford? He wants $7 million. You're a New York team. Give him $7 million. And Logan Ryan. Logan Ryan, cornerback, Tennessee. Just coming off a career year, he wants $10 million. Is he worth $10 million? No. Should you give him $10 million? Yes. Why? Because you can. Because you're a New York team. Act like it, okay? Cornerback is a massive need for the Jets. I talked about this last week. I'm echoing the same message, and Jenna's ears are ringing. But I'll tell you what, this is the reality, okay? I know this past 2-minute segment, however long I've been ranting now, I know it's been rough on your ears. But this is what I live every day, every year, every season. The Jets don't want to pay Logan Ryan because they have a few $1 million discrepancy. The Jets think that they're better off with that $10 million in their pocket than they are with Logan Ryan on the football field. And that's where I respectfully disagree and where I respectfully give you the reins.
Giving me the reins. Thanks, Brad. I'm doing something a little different for my fan frustration this week. Kind of doing a throwback frustration, which is good because in the past, a lot of things that have happened to the Raiders or done by the Raiders have frustrated me. In this offseason with the new stadium, there's nothing right now that's like every news bit is the stadium looks good with no lights. And it's like, oh, let me get frustrated about how awesome our stadium looks. I can't. So this fan frustration, I give a little credit to Just Blog Baby on the internet. Just Blog Baby, he had a blog entry that talked about all the things that, could have changed the fate of the Raiders organization before moving to Las Vegas. So they had things like the tuck rule. Won't get into that. They had things
We
like...
already did. This is basically your second fan frustration of the day.
We did kind of, but not... I'll say some of these I might come back to later if things run dry and we just talk about if the stadium's all that's in the news yet again. And then we had trading John Gruden and that whole Super Bowl debacle. We'll talk about that right now. Drafting Jamarcus Russell. Won't even talk about that. What I'm going to talk about right now is 2016 and Derek Carr breaking his leg. Breaking the dreams of this young Raiders fan. So growing up a Raiders fan, I was always told by my dad, who has been a Raiders fan for the majority of his life. He's from New York, so he also could have had his pick of the New York teams, but he wanted someone that was good. And he claims that the Raiders were good. I know there's history. I know there's footage somewhere. I did not believe that the Raiders were good.
Is this footage black and white?
Probably.
Is it sped up like the 1920s and everyone's moving at 15 miles an hour?
No, it wasn't that. They allegedly were good at some point, and that's why it's like one of those war ad movie strips. Like, join the war overseas, and in other news, the Raiders are good. That is how it feels. So supposedly they were good, and I never really believed him. And I had to go through my young elementary school life, and kids asking me or adults asking me, why are you a Raiders fan? And I was like, I don't know. Why would I be with this crappy team? Obviously, I am a true Raiders fan. But something changed. Something changed in 2016. The Raiders were good. They were good. And man, was it the greatest time of my life. Our offensive line was phenomenal. Phenomenal. Donald Penn, he did not let up a sack the entire season until that faded week against the Colts. He did not let up a sack the entire season. He let up one sack the entire year, and it came where Derek Carr broke his leg, hence breaking my heart. Oh, it was just so sad. We hadn't had a winning season since 2016. All the broadcasts were like, 2002 was the last time they passed this record, the last time Derek Carr passed this record, or any quarterback of the Raiders had passed. I was like, we have our franchise guy. We have Khalil Mack having an excellent season. Amari Cooper, he's having his 1,000-yard season. We have Michael Crabtree, who's being pretty consistent. We have things. We have a team, and I'm happy. We are finally getting past the point of us being bad. I've waited 16 years. 16 years. Technically 14, but I was 2. So, I didn't really know what was going on.
Let's round it up to 16.
We're rounding it up to 16 years of living through this torture, and it only got worse because this is the worst type of torture. Hopeful torture, where it's like, oh, yes, we're finally getting over that hill. But no, you were just at the top, and you can either get pushed forward or pushed back, and we got pushed back. We ended up, once Derek Carr broke his leg, you had to be quick if you were a Raiders fan. You had to be quick to get on the Matt McGloin hype train. So I was watching hype videos from when he was playing at Penn State. I was like, all right, this guy can do it. This guy's our guy. I'm ready to get behind him. Then he got injured before our first playoff appearance since 2002. So we started with Connor Cook. I don't even know where Connor Cook is at this point, but he ain't on the Raiders anymore.
He's unemployed, I believe.
I'm pretty sure he's unemployed. And obviously we lost against the Texans. And honestly, when Derek Carr broke his leg, my heart honestly was broken. It really killed me to see, because I knew even then things would never be the same. And let me tell you how things were never the same. We're going to mesh into some other things here. Now, after that happened, Bill Musgrave, who was their offensive coordinator, got fired. I'm confused as to why. Or maybe it was mutually agreed. Whatever. It's all garbage. But we had a prolific offense. One of the top offenses in the league that year. Why are we letting go Bill Musgrave? And then from there, Derek Carr was never the same in working in the offense. He just wasn't as confident. And it started making people question whether he was good or not, which 2016, he showed that he is good. But that might just be my opinion. We also now no longer have the 2 other cornerstones of the Raiders, at least I thought in my young life. Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, as we know, are no longer part of the Raiders organization. Maybe if Derek Carr didn't break his leg and we did some things, we were a dangerous team in that AFC. They would still be on our team. You know what we've been lacking, Brad, in the past few seasons? The Raiders have been lacking, ironically enough, receiving core and pass rush. Don't even get me started. I'm going to get started anyway. On the press conference where John Gruden said, the pass rusher, it's just hard to find. What? It's just hard to find. You just had one and you just traded him away. Again, we got some draft picks for that, and those draft picks, I've enjoyed them. They've been fun to watch. But
I've enjoyed them.
But still, I'm still angered. The 2, we're figuring out receiving core now after those Amari Cooper. Not the Amari Cooper. After the Khalil Mack trade, we got trades back. And like I said, I'm enjoying those picks. We're getting some offensive weapons, which will replace Amari Cooper. But they'd probably still be on our team. And we might not even have John Gruden as a coach if Derek Carr didn't break his leg. The jury's still out on John Gruden. I liked Jack Del Rio, but
Black Jack Del Rio.
I liked him. Yeah, exactly. He knew how to be risky. But that's all I have to say. 2016 is a year where we all in Raider Nation look back and say, wow, we had hope. We had a lot to believe in. But we also had the Derek Carr injury, which now he's like afraid to get injured. I don't know what his issue is sometimes. But he never played the same. And our franchise never looked the same again. That is all I have to say. That was my throwback fan frustration. I'm frustrated because our future looks so bright, and now it's looking brighter now that we're moving, but still not great.
By the way, if you're curious, Connor Cook was backing up P.J. Walker for the Houston Roughnecks of the XFL before
That makes sense.
the season was suspended.
XFL.
So he's a
Matt
backup
McGloin,
in the
he was in XFL.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, he his name was trending on Twitter when the XFL was in its height because he was saying the whole offense needs to change, and he was basically bashing his starting quarterback. It was very interesting.
Matt McGloin was the 10th leading passer in the XFL last season, and he was backing up Luis Perez for New York.
Yeah, he said the whole offense needs to change when asked what the problem was, why their team was not doing well, and it did not bode well for him.
Eric Dungy on the stat sheet for the XFL. I'm just looking at XFL stats right now because what else would you do during quarantine? Dallas Renegades. Let's get it.
See, I was a Tampa Bay Vipers fan as a Floridian. I don't have any Florida teams under my belt, so I decided to get one.
It's time for you to root for someone in your backyard. I mean, come on.
Exactly. So I went Tampa Bay Vipers. They were really bad, but it was fun. The XFL was fun while it lasted.
And that's all we have for you on the Go for Two podcast. It's not just about NFL anymore. It's about the XFL, apparently, too, even though that's not even a thing. Thank you so much for listening and making us part of your, I'm sure, busy, crowded schedule right now. And there's a lot to do, a lot to accomplish right now with quarantine. We made it through 7. We're going to go for 8 next week. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at the Go For the Number 2 podcast. Send us an email. Go for the number 2 pod at gmail.com. We accept fan mail. I don't know about Jenna, but I do. You can make it out to Brad Klein. Check us out on SoundCloud for past episodes and YouTube at Go For the Number 2 podcast. Thank you. Good night.